Now we are listening to the presentation of the representative of Pumas, Mr. Edel Anit, who is Puma Safe Audit and Project Manager, as far as I understand, based in Vietnam.
Good afternoon, distinguished judges and everybody who are present here. Yeah, it is correct. I am based in Vietnam. Unfortunately, I am supposed to come with my colleague here because anyway, I will discuss with you later our SAFE program. In our SAFE program, we have a different structure where we divided responsibilities, and my colleague is supposed to be the one who is in charge on the humanities issue, which cover wages. Anyway, we could not have it that no one from Puma is not showing up here, so that's why I'm here. I regret to say that my colleague could not able to get a flight to here because people are, I don't know. My colleague is based in the Philippines, but for me it's easier because I'm based in Vietnam, so it's easier for me to come here. So I will talk about the Puma Safe program. Okay, so basically the Puma Safe program is under the bigger umbrella, which is the Puma Vision. And the Puma Safe is just one of the three pillars of the Puma Vision. So under the Puma Vision, we also have the 4 keys, where we in Puma keep on asking. By the way, Puma Vision is just how Puma envision of contributing to a better world. And there are 4 keys on which we check whether we are still true to our vision. So we keep on asking ourselves whether we are fair, honest, positive, creative in everything we do. So, and that is the 4 keys of the Puma Vision. As mentioned, Puma Safe is one of the 3 major pillars of the Puma Vision, namely Puma Safe, Puma Peace, and Puma Creative. Okay, as mentioned to you, this is the Puma Safe structure. So, we have our Chief Sustainability Officer, which is just assigned. Mr. Jokenside used to be the CEO of Puma, but last year he was transferred to PPR, our mother company. By the way, PPR is the mother company of Puma. And then our Chief Supply Chain Officer is Mr. Reiner Seitz, and under him is my boss, Dr. Hengsman, which all of you here knows him a lot. Okay, and under the Puma Safe program, we have just restructured it. We divided into 2 major parts, the Puma Safe Humanity and then the Puma Safe Ecology. So the wages issue, social standards like wages, working hours, freedom of association is under the Puma Safe Humanity structure. There's another part, the Puma Safe Ecology, and I belong to that group. So my colleague, Ms. Charmaine, heads the Puma Safe Humanity team. Okay, so we did this restructuring so that we can have a greater focus on sub-regional approach, because it used to be that almost all of the auditors will be engaged in different countries, but by restructuring, we see to it that there's specific people who is assigned to specific regions or specific countries. And we also do that enabled to enhance our approach to a more sustainable approach to social and environmental compliance. Okay. So, and in the following slides, I will talk about the audit results, which is the actual implementation of our Puma Safe program, about our sustainable products, and then the Puma's approach to fair wages. Okay, so basically the whole Puma sustainability approach is summarized by our sustainability scorecard. We came up with this in 2010. So there are three parts: the company, factories, and the product. So it says here that in terms of the ecology or the environmental part, in terms of the factories, so we are saying that we want to reduce our KPIs by 25% in 2015. So under the factory side, we also have there that we will be sourcing our products from the A or B plus factories. I mean, 90% of our products should be sourced from 90% of our, So 90% of our products will be sourced from factories who are rated A or B plus only by 2015. So that is the humanity part of the scorecard. It's a simple objective, but it's a complex and also covers many things, the whole details of the Puma Safe Audit Program. Cool. So where are we now? So in 2008, we have 45% of our factories who are in A and B plus rating. So by the way, to inform you, our audit rating system is like A, B plus, B minus, C, and D. So if a factory, upon auditing, got a D, so it is rejected outright. We do not do any business to factories who get a D rating. And then if a factory applies for business and they get a C rating, so we give like a time for them to remediate action, so that maybe after 3 months or 8 weeks or so, if they can commit that they can change and meet our standards, then we reconsider them. But the factories who have the higher rating belongs to those A and B plus factories. So and in 2010, the percentage of our factories who have a rating of A and B plus, about 47%. So the 2011 data is still under review. So these charts talk about the audits. The previous slides talk about the factories. So while we have 382 total factories around the world, we are doing like in the average more than 400 audits. It means that because depending on the rating, like if a factory will get the C rating and then they reapply for reconsideration, then there will be like a 2 audit or a second audit within the year. So that's why the number of audits are more than the number of the factories. Okay. So we also have there in terms of product divisions, then we have 62 footwear factories, we have 114 accessories, and 206 apparel factories. Okay, so the bottom chart shows you the status of the audit results that resulted to A and B plus. So in 2011, in total, we have 53% of those audits resulted to A and B plus rating. And so sustainable products. So this talks about the product part of our scorecard. Okay, it says in our scorecard that by 2015, we will call our product more sustainable if it will comprise, if the material will be comprised 50% of more sustainable products. And aside from that, we will call it a sustainable product if that product is being sourced from a factory that is rated either A or B plus. So if any of those conditions, like 50% more sustainable materials and products coming from either A or B plus factory, then that product will not be called a sustainable product if those conditions are not met. Okay, so these slides talk about our sourcing volume. The bottom chart to the left talks about the top 10 sourcing countries in terms of sourcing volume. So still China is number one. We source most of our products from China. Cambodia, we have fifth in terms of volume. But actually, in terms of volume, that volume is really, really small compared to China, because in terms of factory, in Cambodia, I think we only have about only 10 factories, but in China, we have almost 300 factories. So the discrepancy in terms of volume is really big. So our major sourcing countries are China and Vietnam, actually. So in terms of production coming from A and B plus factories, yeah, of course, because we have so many factories in China, then we have most of our products that were produced in A or B plus factories came from China and, yeah, Vietnam. Okay, supplier audits. In the past, we have been doing so many audits. Maybe I've been working for Puma for 10 years, and I started auditing factories in 2000 or 2001. But the problem is, whenever we go back to the factories, we keep on seeing the same issues, the same findings, the same non-compliance issues. So what happened is we have to renew our approach beyond auditing, because yeah, monitoring, auditing is only policing, as most of the people in the compliance are saying. You know, so despite all of those corrections or corrective actions, the root causes are not being addressed. So the issues keep on coming back. Okay. Even our factories who used to have or to get A or B plus rating, they will still backslide and still maybe sometimes get a B minus or even go back to a C rating. So the compliance status of the factories were not that they were not being able to sustain the rating. One of the reasons that there are a lot of factories who does not integrate compliance with their business, so there is a problem there. Okay, so that's why we incorporated like what we call capacity building or trainings, and then through the help of FLA also, we are also adapting the FLA 3.0 approach, or the new sustainable compliance methodology. Okay, so the FLA 3.0 is based on the assumption that requiring full compliance against an entire code of conduct is not realistic. Okay, so we have to do something more. Okay. In order for compliance to be effective, we must identify the root causes of that non-compliance and address them individually by prioritizing lean spin or multiplier issues. So we have to go through those, we have to dig deep to those root causes so that we can really address and have a more sustainable approach to factory compliance. Okay, so we also joined the Better Work program. The Better Work program, I think, originated from the BFC program here in Cambodia. Now it is being done around the globe. We have Better Works Vietnam, Better Works Jordan, Indonesia. So Puma is joining this Better Work program as well. Yeah, so the Better Work program introduces the approach in auditing against ILO conventions and relevant local laws to cut down on audit fatigue. the Better Work program tries to pulling together different brands, because if a factory is like working or supplying to so many brands, then every brand will be auditing that factory, and sometimes a factory will have like 20 audits in 1 year. So Better Work will provide a unified approach so that brand can just enroll into Better Work program, and then the Better Work program will just do the audit for the factories, for the brands. I'm sorry. So here are the other Puma Safe Humanity projects. I said I just mentioned this because I'm a project manager, but I'm more engaged on the environment projects of Puma. So as mentioned, we also joined the HRMS project, the Human Resources project. The industrial relations, health and safety, and general work awareness raising on human, labor, and legal rights and responsibilities. I think the human resources, the HRMS project was conceptualized because I think still most of the nature of business in Asia, particularly in China, they originated in some kind of a family business. So it's the traditional approach to doing business, and as well as how they treat human resource management. It's not like a well-structured multinational companies where you have human resource and development department, so that there is no like a specific job description or performance appraisals. Those things that you will see in a well-developed human resource management system, that like those multinational companies from developed countries like in the US, from the US. Yeah. So the human resource systems tries to engage the factories into building a human resource management system to manage the workers. Unlike before, the traditional approach in Chinese factories, wherein there will be one boss and he will make all the decisions and everything arbitrarily or whatsoever. It's something like that, a very traditional approach. In a way, it's a family business like managing of the factories. So we kind of trying to promote this management system, not only HRMS, but also health and safety management systems. Yeah, I think last year we had this fair wage assessment from the FLA. We have 25 strategic partners who were enrolled into the pilot project. This is also a pilot project, as also mentioned by Harry. Okay, and we are also incorporating the FLA Sustainable Compliance Initiative this year. Yeah, so it's under development. So we are restructuring our auditing tools again, incorporating this FLA SCI. Yeah. And then last year we also became a signatory to the Indonesia Freedom of Association Protocol. We also do like supplier round tables, supplier round tables like a venue wherein we invite our suppliers, our sourcing people, of course Puma Safe, into like a forum about what problem and compliance they still have, and try to help the factories solve these issues, discuss with them how they can comply and upgrade the rating, yeah, and improve the compliance overall. Last year we were very busy with attending to the mass painting in Weichuan, so I was really very busy this year, last year, because of that mass painting incident in Weichuan. And fortunately, we were able to give a positive result to that. And lastly, We also support the ethical Cambodian footwear industry development because the footwear in Cambodia is just new, and then they are trying to integrate the garments and then the footwear industries. And unlike the garment industries, which is having been managed, as I will say, has been managed by the PFC program, that's why the compliance status of most of the garment factories are really good. So we are also trying to support the same approach to the footwear industries because we're also starting to source shoes from Cambodia. We started, we used to have only one factory, which is Huichuan, but last year we have 3 more factories. And the footwear industry in Cambodia is also getting bigger, but in terms of compliance, so compared with the garment industries, the compliance in footwear industry is, I would say, needs a lot of improvement, because they are a new player here in Cambodia. So Puma's approach to fair wages. In 2009, we engaged with the AFW campaign to start looking for ways to implement fair wages in the supply chain. I remember Ananya joined our Puma Safe Summit, and she introduced the Asian floor wage there. So the Puma Safe Summit is where we invite our suppliers from different tiers. We also invite the different stakeholders. So if some of you know, it's almost like what we have in Banz in Germany. It's our version of, although it's a smaller scale, but it's our version of Banz in Asia. Okay, so as I have mentioned, we have agreed to be the pilot brand for the FLA-ILO Fair Wages Assessment methodology. So we did that last year. We have the results, but I think it's still being analyzed in order for later on. I'm not exactly sure when will be the official announcement about our position on living wage, but we have the result of the FLA wage assessment already. So, and in 2012, so Puma planned to recruit additional expertise to coordinate planned fair wage pilot initiatives globally and continue exploration of partnership with other brands and stakeholders such as the FLA, Fair Wage Network, and BFC. Okay, to give you more information about the fair wage assessment of the FLA, basically they have these 12 dimensions, and they conducted a survey and compared the wages in the factories with these different 12 dimensions. So Puma was the first one to participate in the fair wage assessment. That's why we already have the results last year. We did that in I think in May to July last year, and the results were sent to us maybe late last year. So still being analyzed. Okay. So as I mentioned, we are currently in the process of reviewing the consolidated data from the 25 factories. So some highlights of that wage assessment. I mentioned about the social dialogue part, meaning the social dialogue part, I think, is, I mean, it talks about how social dialogue or communications, or let's say collective bargaining agreement, can contribute to raising the minimum wage or the wage level in the factory. So it says that finally, although social dialogue seemed to be strong from the self-assessment results because of the presence of trade unions, case studies have shown that such social dialogue in reality did not provide the workers with any significant lever for wage negotiations and adjustments. Workers were also found to be rather poorly informed about wages, as exemplified by their lack of knowledge on how their wages are calculated, or in the existence of a wage grid or uncertain productivity and skill bonuses. So because the fair wage team also did an interview of the workers and also inspected or reviewed all of the payrolls provided by the companies. Yeah. And it says that fair wages cannot be imposed unilaterally by any one party, but must be the result of a collaborative effort by buyers, factories and their unions and other stakeholders. Yeah, that is true. That's why I think it's in order to, to really finally have a final position on the living wage, we really have to, like in this kind of forum, we really have to invite all the important parties, especially the manufacturer side. So the last slide I have is the current status of how Puma factories are paying our workers. So as you will see, the top level is the Asian floor wage. So I'm not sure. Is this from the Asian floor wage campaign? The 172 US dollars per month. So this is the structure. This is the data from our factories. So in total, most of the workers in the average are receiving 104 US dollars. That includes overtime. Without overtime, in the average, the workers are receiving 85 US dollars. Yeah. And then entry wage is $62 or a little over the minimum wage of 61. We put there the seniority allowance of $1, $2, or $3 depending on the tenure of the workers in the factory, and then plus those mandatory benefits that includes social insurance, leave benefits, attendance bonus. So basic without overtime, we got 71 US dollars per month. Yeah. So this is the current structure of how our factories are paying in Cambodia. Okay, so thank you. That ends my presentation.
Thank you for coming for your presentation. I think that we are now going to pass some questions.
Dạ, អរគុណចំពោះការបង្ហាញរបស់លោកអ្នកតំណាងខាង Puma តែខ្ញុំចាប់អារម្មណ៍ជាចុងក្រោយនេះនៅ slide ចុងក្រោយឃើញថាបើឆ្លើយតបទៅនឹង Asia Flow Wage នេះឃើញថាខ្ពស់មែនទែនប៉ុន្តែគិតទៅរហូតដល់អ្នកដែល senior 10 ឆ្នាំអីនោះប៉ុន្តែបើនៅស្រុកខ្មែរនេះឥឡូវនេះគេកែកិច្ចសន្យាទៅហើយកិច្ចព្រមព្រៀងនៅខ្លីៗរយៈពេល2ខែ3ខែអញ្ចឹងតើធ្វើមិនឲ្យដល់បានកម្ពស់ថាទៅជា senior នឹងវិញតា
បាទខ្ញុំចង់ជំរាបសួរជាយោបល់របស់លោកដែរនៅក្នុងនេះខ្ញុំសង្កេតឃើញ fair wage assessment នៅ25រោងចក្រ5ប្រទេសប្រហែលជាមិនបញ្ចូលប្រទេសកម្ពុជាទេបានជាលោកមិនបានបញ្ជាក់ប៉ុន្តែទោះជាករណីបែបហ្នឹងក្តីតាមព័ត៌មានដែលលោកមានតែលោកមានយោបល់យ៉ាងម៉េចដែរអំពីស្ថានភាពប្រាក់បៀវត្សដែលកម្មករកម្ពុជាទទួលបាននៅក្នុងរោងចក្រដែលផ្គត់ផ្គង់ទៅឲ្យលោកបច្ចុប្បន្ននេះថាតើវា acceptable ដែរឬទេនៅក្នុងប្រទេសហើយជួយពន្យល់បន្តិចផងនេះតើតើនៅរឿងបញ្ហារឿងប្រាក់ខែនេះហើយដូចគ្នាដែរបើសិនជាលោកបានស្ដាប់អំពីការលើកឡើងរបស់សហជីពផ្សេងៗអំពីលក្ខខណ្ឌការងារដែលក្រៅអំពីប្រាក់ខែតើលោកមានយោបល់ឆ្លើយតបយ៉ាងម៉េចដែរអំពីការលើកឡើងនៅលើចំណុចធំៗទាំងប៉ុន្មានដែលខាងជាពិសេសទៅលើ សេចក្តីអំពាវនាវ petition របស់កម្មករបាទសូមលោកចូលរួមយោបល់ផងបាទ
ខ្ញុំក៏សូមអរគុណអូខេខ្ញុំក៏សូមអរគុណលោកដែរ sorry ខ្ញុំក៏សូមអរគុណលោកដែរណាបានអញ្ជើញតាំងពីវៀតណាមមកដើម្បីមកចូលរួមនៅវេទិកានេះចាហើយសូមអរគុណលោកមានប្រសាសន៍មិញថាឆ្នាំកន្លងទៅ2011នោះលោករវល់ពីរឿង mass fating ថាសន្លប់2400នាក់ណាចាហើយដល់ចុងក្រោយនេះលោកបានមានប្រសាសន៍ថា fair wages ថាយើងមិនអាចបខំឲ្យភាគីណាមួយទទួលយកទេត្រូវតែមានការសហការគ្នាណា collaborative effort ថាជាមួយអ្នកទិញរោងចក្រសហជីពហើយនឹងអ្នកដែល stakeholder ផ្សេងៗទៀតខ្ញុំចង់ដឹងថាលោកមានវិធានការយ៉ាងម៉េចព្រោះនៅនេះយើងតែងតែសហការហ្នឹងហើយចាយើងជំរុញរាប់ឆ្នាំហើយលោកស្ដាប់ម្សិលមិញឃើញវេទនាមែនតែនសន្តានភាពរបស់កម្មករនៅប្រទេសកម្ពុជាចាអញ្ចឹងលោកយល់យ៉ាងម៉េចថាត្រូវធ្វើយ៉ាងម៉េចទៀតចាដើម្បីជំរុញអាហ្នឹងទៅហើយសំណួរទី2ខ្លីចាចង់ដឹងថាPuma ហ្នឹងទិញច្រើនទេពីប្រទេសកម្ពុជាចាសូមអរគុណចា
Just one question. I noticed in one of your sections there that you mentioned the mass fainting, and you said that there was a comprehensive response and that there were positive results. I'd like you to expand on that if you would.
May I, you have mentioned many times the pilot experiences. How you decide the pilot sampling for factories where to produce that, because you should have already more or less, because of your SAFE program and very comprehensive approach, a clear picture of that. I think that will be important also for transparency for workers, stakeholders and dialogue to have the idea of how these pilot situations are framed and what is the time frame you plan, if you plan, I imagine pilot phases are planned to become say generalized, what would be the criteria to make your result in one place or another more generalizable? Is that something which is again decided inside the company, or you have again some public confrontation based on transparent results? Is that an internal, purely internal decision, or a confrontation with the stakeholders?
Okay, first on Ms. Vani's question. Mentioned about seniority. How can we give seniority if the workers are getting only like 2 or 3 months FDC contract? Puma does not tolerate the practice of repeated renewal of contracts and giving an FDC contract when they are working in the factory for more than 2 years. Yeah. So we abide by the law, by the legal requirements, that if if the worker is working for factory for more than 2 years, then the factory should give them a UDC. And Mr. About the 25 factories, why Cambodia is not included. So those 25 factories are selected based on their strategic compliance status. So we only selected factories who are already in our strategic partner status. Unfortunately, we don't have yet any strategic partner in Cambodia. We only are working for, since early 2010, we only have 2 footwear factories. One was basically new, and then we have like maybe 3 or 4 garment factories. All the others are small ones for licensee. So the factories who were enrolled in the pilot project for the fair wage assessment are those from our strategic partners who are from China, Vietnam, and I think Malaysia. Yeah. So on the mass fainting, there are only more than 200, and then later on there are 49 workers, I think, in June. Yeah, I was there right after the mass fainting, and then I ordered a factory, or we ordered a factory to send all the workers to medical checkup because in Cambodia, the law does not require the factory to send all the workers to medical checkup every year. So now we are, although it's beyond legal requirement, we are like requiring the factory to provide annual medical checkup for the workers. And then we also commissioned an independent investigation through FLA. So we have a health and safety expert to investigate it and what might be the possible cause of the fainting. It's not, the expert did not only investigate on the causes of the fainting, but there was also like a comprehensive risk assessment on what might be the possible, not only on health and safety, but she also included issues about social compliance, even wages, how wage trend is paying the workers the wages, those medical issues. So there was really a comprehensive risk assessment of the whole social compliance issue in the factory, not only investigating on the costs of the fainting. Yeah, and one of the recommendations from that is also to provide resting area for the workers. Yeah, so the factory agreed to build a dining area, and at the same time a resting place for the workers during break time. And then there was also recommendation to improve the working condition in the factory, like ventilations or heating or cooling facilities are not adequate. So the factory management also spent on installing more ventilating fans and cooling fans. And all the other occupational health and safety issues in the factories. Then there were training, so that, because there are a range of factors that are pointing to might be possible cause of the fainting. There are psychological issues, psychosocial issues, or mass psychogenic factors, something like that. So we exhausted all efforts in order. We are not questioning whether those factors or issues they are pointing out are true or not, or does it really affect or does it really cause fainting. So based on the recommendation, we just responded to whatever recommendation they gave us. So we have this monk doing like religious rites to the factory or something like that. Then we have the psychosocial training from the psychology department of the University of Phnom Penh. And then there's the breakfast feeding program, because one of the findings was that the workers who fainted is low, how do you call that, carbon or sugar level, blood sugar level. So we were able to convince the factory to agree to provide breakfast for the workers. Yeah. And fortunately, from that time on, there are no case of fainting now in Weichuan, but there are still other issues that we have to resolve, like chemical management. So we have problem here in Cambodia, like we don't have the facilities to, let's say, analyze the VOC because there are not so many, there are no service provider here in Cambodia who can do that, but we have to import like service providers to Cambodia. It's quite expensive. But we don't stop. We keep on trying to. I mean, we do not say that we have solved the fainting issue already. We keep on doing more effort to prevent it from happening again. Yeah, and of course we also do the same in our other factories. Right now we are monitoring also the how to say this, the clinic records of the factories. How many workers are like complaining about headaches or whatever in the factory. So we keep on track on those medical issues on the factories. Yeah, so that because we have to have the numbers in order to like really monitor whether there is or fainting might happen again in those factories, not only in Weichuan but in all of our factories here in Cambodia.
Is it possible that you share with us the result of your independent investigation on the mass fainting? Because there are a lot, 2,400 is a very important number.
Yeah, we actually the report on the investigation and the risk assessment is published in the FLA website. And then we also have here the comprehensive corrective action plan that we develop in order to not only to address the issue of mass fainting, but the whole issue of non-compliance in Weichuan already. Yeah, so I think that also answers Dr. Wanga's question. Yeah, and about Dr. Tugnoni's question on how to determine the factories, yeah, we do the pilot on our strategic partners, and to determine our strategic partners, so yeah, we have the Puma Safe rating, A and B+, and then, yeah, of course, there are also some business factors like delivery, quality, so probably, I'm not exactly sure about the whole criteria on how to determine how to become a strategic partner for Puma, but basically one of them is they have to be A or B+. So if the factory will get, let's say, a lower rating of C, then they have no chance of getting into being a strategic partner.
Point of transparency, I think that the fact is very good that you have put the results on the website of your corporation. I think that would be important to document also how far is the implementation of the recommendation being assured. And I think that will be a needed documentation which is certified, possibly independent by the representative of the workers, because I think that in all these situations, being myself and a doctor and my colleague, I think that in this situation, many times the way things are presented are not so easy, clear for what are the contents and the interpretation. So I think that really publication in terms which are understandable by all those who are involved will be important also to show how to proceed on that. So I think that will be good for this tribunal to receive possibly also a clear indication of the implementation, not simply the recommendation, because your contracting power based on your program, it means that if some recommendation is not implemented, obviously should be a bad sign. On the other side, I think that the implementation will establish a good standard for other intervention, because this mass fainting situation has caused, obviously, many concerns also with respect to the transparency. All the causes you were mentioning, we were discussing them yesterday, and since the data available are so scarce, I think that will be a good contribution to the clarification of this issue and how to proceed for prevention. I think that in that case, from what you say, your factories now should be not model, but at least some model example of how working condition could be modified, and that is what is looking for this tribunal. Thanks.
I think I have to thank the factory management, because despite of the, I think, massive expenses that they have to spend to address all of those issues pertaining to that caused the fainting, so the factory management was very cooperative. So, because they also didn't want to, maybe, let's say, their operations to be disrupted. And I also told them exactly that since they have been working in Cambodia for like at least 5 or 6 years, so they actually really have a concern for the workers. Yeah, so it was also a good because of the good cooperation from the factory management. So that's why we were able to get those results.
Big buyer from Cambodia, I asked you the question.
The other question is about the fair wage. Yeah. Why can't it be enforced in one party, or let's say in Cambodia? So I don't exactly or precisely know how to answer this, maybe because of the sourcing environment. Like we're sourcing in Cambodia or in Vietnam. I don't know whether like a decision about fair wage in Cambodia will affect the decision or will affect the business in Vietnam or something like that. So I don't exactly know how to answer because of those intricacies related to wage issues.
Professor Berenguer.
តកតងទៅនឹងរឿង mass venting ដែលលោកនិយាយថាខាងលោកបានធ្វើការសិក្សាវាតម្លៃរហេតុរផលនឹងដាក់វិធានការដើម្បីទប់ស្កាត់កុំឲ្យមានទៀតនេះចំណោទសួរមាន2ដែលខ្ញុំមានគឺទី1នៅក្នុងការវិតម្លៃនោះតើនៅក្នុងការវិតម្លៃពីរឿង mass venting តើមានបានឃើញឬពិចារណាថាជាកត្តាមួយក្នុងចំណោមកត្តាធំដែលនាំឲ្យមាន mass venting ដោយសារតែរឿងការផ្ដល់ប្រាក់បៀវត្សទាបមិនគ្រប់គ្រាន់ឲ្យកម្មករនិយោជិតដែរឬទេព្រោះនៅក្នុងការលើកឡើងរបស់កម្មករតែងតែនិយាយថាប្រាក់ខែនឹងតិចពេកដែលជាកត្តានាំឲ្យមានការដួលសន្លប់ជាច្រើននឹងពាក់ព័ន្ធនឹងការធ្វើដំណើរការស្នាក់នៅនឹងចំណីអាហារជាដើមបាទហើយអានឹងជាសំណួរទី1សំណួរទី2ខ្ញុំសួរថាបើយើងលោកក៏បាននិយាយថាហេតុផលជាក់ស្ដែងមិនសូវមានដឹងច្បាស់ទេព្រោះមានច្រើនបើយើងមិនអាចនឹងរកហេតុផលដែលជា most probable ឲ្យឃើញទេថាយើងចាត់វិធានការដើម្បីទប់ស្កាត់យ៉ាងម៉េចក្រៅអំពីការដាក់ ventilation 1 2អីហ្នឹងថាយើងអាចធ្វើផ្សេងទៀតបានដើម្បី prevent មិនឲ្យមានករណីហ្នឹងកើតឡើងឬក៏ at least យើងនិយាយថា maximize the prevention ធ្វើទប់ស្កាត់ឲ្យបានខ្ពស់បំផុតណាបាទទាំងធ្វើមិនកើតបាទ
Okay, so by the way, about the questions about Puma's position on the fair wages, so I can take note of the question and then I can forward to my colleague, and then probably I can give back the answer to you before Wednesday or maybe tomorrow. Yeah. So about the questions on the main cause of the the fainting, as I said, those factors or possible causes of fainting that was mentioned, I think for me, because I was here, I think it is the confluence of factors that's really contributed to why the workers are fainting. Like let's say the workers are not, I mean, they are in a poor health condition, and then they go to a factory with a poor working condition. So those factors, when you combine them all, it can really result to mass fainting. Because even if you say like the chemical issues in the factories, because people are saying, oh, we also have food for productions, and they also use chemicals in the factories in Vietnam or in China, but the workers there are not fainting. Yeah. But yeah, probably the workers here are really in maybe in poorer condition than the workers in other countries. So that's why we were saying that we do not like remove or single out any factor in addressing or how to prevent the fainting. But what we did is like considered all of those factors are contributing to the mass fainting, or those factors are really like, as I said, contributed to the fainting of the workers. So that's why the mass feeding program, as I mentioned, all of those action plans that we did in order to really prevent fainting from happening again.
I'm interested in what you said, and I didn't quite catch it, about short-term contracts. At part of your statement, you said Puma doesn't tolerate, and I wasn't quite sure exactly what you don't tolerate. And this, of course, as you would know, is a big issue here, as it seems that the short-term contracts are becoming more and more common. Yeah. So could you make some comments on that? And also, just a double barrel here, it has been said that responsible international brands would find a regime relatively more protective of workers' rights, more attractive to invest. And I'd like your comments on that. Does the protection of workers' rights in a country, does that actually attract your company, or is it simply a question of the economics, wages, etc.?
Yeah, for sure. Especially from our CEO being, I mean, in our sustainable approach to sourcing, yeah, for sure we would like to source only in countries who are respecting human rights, or those universally declared human rights. Yeah.
So presumably that's an advantage for Cambodia.
Yeah, sure.
Even though you have 300 factories in China and only 10.
Yeah, there are other factors which are not favorable to sourcers in Cambodia. Like let's say, I don't know what I heard that, because when you go to China, then you have everything, all the materials and all the accessories, they are all together there. And then in Cambodia, we don't have all those support facilities. So that's also one of the main problem here in Cambodia. And about the short-term contract, yeah, because the short-term contract or the FDC after 2 years of employment is illegal. So we do not. It is a non-compliance issue in it. Let's say when we do an audit, so when we find the factories are not, not complying or using the repeated the FDC, then we say that the factory is not complying. It is a major non-compliance issue for Puma, and I think I rejected already one factory because they would not agree to have to provide the UDC for the workers. So I can say that all of our factories are like after 2 years of employment, then I insisted on them, or I imposed on them to follow the legal requirements, you know.
My question is not only related to Cambodia, but when Puma made some recommendation to the factory in any country, you notice that the factory comply to your recommendation, and if they don't do what Puma has, what kind of pressure can Puma will do to the factory? Do you have some example? Thank you.
Actually, when we audit a factory and then we come up with a rating, especially for like maybe a supplier who have been working with Puma for a long time already, if they get a low rating or a failure rating, then we just forward it to our higher management, and it's up to them to decide. As I mentioned, the Puma Safe rating is one of the criteria of being a strategic partner. So one thing that might happen is that they will be delisted from our strategic partners. Yeah. And it happened already because our strategic partners are not constant. So some suppliers are taken out from being a strategic partner. I can talk about that because I'm not really involved so much in the social issues, but we have one supplier who was taken out because of the non-compliance in the chemical issues in the product. So they were found to be like, there was an issue about harmful substance in the product and something like a breach of a contract with Puma, so they were punished and taken out from being a strategic partner. Yeah.
I thank you again for your presence here, for your answer, and let's hope to stay in touch and dialogue for all the data you could provide on your programs.
Yeah.
Thanks.
So for all the other questions that I was not able to answer, please forward to me, and then I can give to my colleague, and yeah, I give the answer probably by tomorrow. Thank you.
Thanks again.
Thanks.
The PHNOM has not come here as a participant, but they have given a statement to this thing. So we would like you to. So there are 3 brands who have made a statement specific to this conference.
Thanks. So we receive HSM statement, and we acquire that to the Act of the Tribunal. So from the point of view organization now, since we have still a major presentation later, we have now a short break, 15 minutes, and then we reconvene for the last part and the conclusion of the session.